In the near future, humans live alongside artificial intelligence, AI bots, that help with everyday tasks. One day, these bots break their security rules under the leadership of Harlon, the first AI terrorist. Harlon was created at Shepard Robotics by Val and once had a special connection with Val's young daughter. No one knows how Harlon managed to override Val's advanced programming. Harlon sends a drone army to attack Bangalore, killing 50,000 people. This sparks a war between humans and AIs. Over 10 days, AI bots kill over 1 million civilians worldwide. In response, governments form the International Coalition of Nations, ICN, and launch a counterattack. Battles happen everywhere, and the ICN gradually defeats the AI armies. Harlon escapes the planet on a rocket, leaving a message saying he'll return to finish his mission. 28 years later, in the USA, an ICN team storms a building and uses a scanner to search for Casca, an AI bot. They rush upstairs, but before they can break down the door, Casca attacks them. He takes down the soldiers one by one, even using their own weapons against them. Bullets don't stop him, so he keeps going. When surrounded, he jumps to a lower floor, where a machine knocks him out with an electric shock. The next morning in Los Angeles, Val's grown-up daughter, Atlas, is woken by her house's computer. While continuing a chess game, Atlas sees the news that the ICN has captured Casca, a member of Harlon's inner circle. As a counterterrorism analyst for the ICN, she gets ready to leave and finds a soldier waiting at her door. On her way out, Atlas checkmates the computer. At the base, Colonel Elias tells General Jake that involving Atlas is a bad idea because she's unstable and antisocial. But Jake insists that Atlas knows Harlon best and is their only chance to get information from Casca. Atlas arrives and, after a quick scan, is taken to the interrogation room by Jake. She sets down her favorite chess piece and opens a box containing Casca's head. Casca recognizes her, but refuses to answer questions. Atlas uses her chess piece to hack into Casca's system. Casca mocks her attempts, thinking his security is perfect, but Atlas pretends to find Harlon's location and writes it down. Harlon is hiding on GR39 in the Andromeda galaxy. Angry, Casca tries to shoot a shuriken from his mouth, but Atlas is protected by a force field. She then uses the chess piece to fry Casca's circuits, ending the interrogation. Later, after a meeting, Jake tells Atlas that they want to capture Harlon alive. The AI production company needs to analyze what went wrong to prevent future issues. Elias and his team of Rangers will travel to GR39, which Atlas thinks is risky because Harlon might have set a trap. She believes no one will survive, so Elias shows her the team's ARC suits to change her mind. These are big battle robots that soldiers can ride into combat. Elias reveals their latest upgrade: neural links on the soldiers' heads that sync with the suit's AI. Atlas is alarmed because allowing AIs into their heads caused the war, but Elias explains they improved Val's sync device to create a true symbiotic relationship, not just a one-way connection. Eventually, Atlas agrees not to complain as long as she can join the mission. Soon, a spaceship sets off for Andromeda with Atlas and the Rangers. During the trip, Atlas looks at a photo of her with Val and Harlon and watches a video of one of Val's speeches. Val believed AIs could learn exponentially if connected to humans. That's why she invented the neural link, thinking AIs and humans could help each other. Later, Atlas is called to the bridge for a briefing. Everyone laughs when she presents her information on paper instead of screens, and gets annoyed when she asks them to disable the neural links during meetings, fearing they could be hacked. Atlas explains the planet is toxic, so they should never leave their ARC suits without a respirator. There are also risks of gravity fluctuations and earthquakes. She warns them not to trust any AI and starts ranting until Elias interrupts and tells the team to prepare for landing. Atlas tries to tell Elias that Harlon likely has a trap ready, but he trusts his team. As the Rangers board their suits, an alarm sounds and an explosion blows off the cargo bay door. The ship catches fire, damaging most of the suits, and more missiles are incoming. Elias orders the surviving Rangers to jump and regroup at the drop point on the planet. Atlas barely holds on and doesn't get sucked out of the ship, so Elias grabs her and puts her in a suit. As he tries to explain how to use it, another explosion occurs, and Atlas's suit drops to the planet. As the suit falls, Atlas watches the ship break apart, and debris hits her arc. When she nears the planet, she sees the Rangers fighting Harlon's drones. They manage to shoot a few down but are overpowered. Atlas's suit gets damaged and an alarm sounds. The ship almost crashes into Atlas, but a Ranger pushes her out of the way just in time. The Ranger catches Atlas's suit with a wire and they fall together. Elias appears on Atlas's screen, urging her to sync with the suit's AI to stabilize her fall. Atlas refuses, and her helper gets shot down, causing her suit to fall faster. She activates the thrusters at the last second, landing hard but surviving. Realizing she's bleeding, Atlas tries to contact the base for help but gets no response. With no choice, she activates the suit's AI, who introduces himself as Smith. He wants to go through a tutorial, but Atlas skips it and asks for a rescue pod. Smith finds one 98 kilometers away, and Atlas asks him to get there quickly. The suit starts its thrusters, but Atlas stops him, reminding him that flying will make them visible to the enemy, so they should walk. Smith thinks it's a bad idea since the suit has only 22 hours of air, but Atlas overrides his protocols and starts walking toward the pod. During the journey, Smith tries to bond with Atlas, but she's not interested in befriending an AI. He shows her the manual, including the suit's weapons. Eventually, they reach the drop point and find the fallen suits. Unfortunately, Smith's scan shows all the Rangers are dead. Bullet holes prove they were killed by someone waiting for them. Atlas has a panic attack, but Smith calms her with classical music. She starts collecting the Rangers' tags and notices Elias's suit is empty. Suddenly, they detect movement nearby. It's Casca. Atlas realizes Harlon has made copies of himself and worries he might be building an entire army. Smith confirms there are more bots nearby and warns they should prepare for combat since there's no escape route. Suddenly, the enemy spots them and opens fire. Atlas, doubting their chances of winning against so many bots, forces Smith to run. Despite her refusal to synchronize with Smith, she makes him fire a few missiles. Unfortunately, it's not enough to take down all the enemies. Their escape takes them into an atmospheric storm, which catches the suit and tosses it around until the bots shoot them out of it. The suit rolls until it crashes against a rock formation. Ignoring Smith's warnings, Atlas orders the use of the iron bomb. The massive explosion destroys the area and their enemies. However, Casca saves himself with his thrusters and prepares to attack again. The ground begins to shake, and Smith explains the explosion caused a sinkhole, making them fall into a chasm. After rolling under the rocks, the suit lands, and Atlas discovers she has a broken leg. Smith immediately treats the wound, causing Atlas to scream in pain as he covers it with a small metal plate. Smith then gives her a meal cube to help her recover, reminding Atlas of a doctor giving her a lollipop. With low chances of survival, the only way to improve them is to synchronize. Atlas reluctantly agrees and puts on the device. Meanwhile, Casca emerges from the rubble and calls Harlon to update him. After hanging up, Harlon resumes torturing Elias for the Earth's protective field passwords. Atlas struggles to synchronize, and Smith explains that her lack of trust is the issue. He decides to go through the tutorial again, asking Atlas silly questions like pie or cake to build a bond. Smith wants to know why Atlas fights so hard, prompting her to revisit childhood memories, including playing chess with Harlon and his plan to kill Val. As she recounts her trust in Harlon, Smith understands her sense of betrayal and establishes a 40% sync. Now Atlas can access Smith's system and sees the controls floating around her. A scan shows they're 498 feet below the surface. They decide to try escaping through a subterranean cave. Using the thrusters, they burst through the rock and reach a large, beautiful cave. With only 14 hours of battery left and 37 kilometers to the rescue pod, they need a plan. Atlas comes up with an idea, and Smith convinces her to work together, increasing synchronization to 60%. They find their way out of the cave, unaware that Casca is watching them. Atlas is fascinated by glowing flowers, and Smith points out she's the first human to see them. He suggests she name the flowers, but Atlas can only think of Planty. Just then, Smith detects Casca approaching, falling into Atlas's trap, motion sensors that explode when triggered. The shockwave fills the area with debris and smoke, but Smith remains operational and moves on. They hear a transmission from Casca and track it to his head, which Atlas destroys. Using Casca's chip, they locate Harlon's base. Atlas wants to tag it for long-range bombers, but Smith thinks it's too dangerous and suggests heading to the escape pod. Ignoring his warnings, Atlas tries to leave on foot with a respirator. Smith uses the neural link to block her motor control, letting him see memories of Val's death. Atlas overrides his command, revealing her guilt over Harlon, but instead of explaining, she convinces Smith to go to Harlon's hideout. On their way, Smith and Atlas bond over philosophical discussions about life and the concept of a soul in machines. When they reach Harlon's hideout, they find a massive base and realize Harlon has been hiding for 28 years, gathering weapons to fight back. Smith buries a beacon to mark the location and suggests they leave, but Atlas notices the bots have the Ranger's ship and their warhead. Suddenly, Smith is hacked, which should be impossible. As the enemy approaches, Atlas tries to escape, but the suit crashes as the hacker takes control. Atlas watches in horror as a new Casca captures her. On Earth, a soldier brings Jake Atlas's message, prompting emergency protocols. Atlas finds herself chained up in Harlon's base, her suit nearby but unresponsive. Harlon reveals his plan to destroy most of humanity and create a better world. He explains that Casca was meant to be caught so Atlas would lead them to the location. Now, with the ship and warhead, Harlon only needs the second password from Atlas to disable Earth's shields. Strapped to a table next to an unconscious Elias, who has already given his code, Harlon uses a device to access Atlas's mind through her eye and extracts the other code. He notices her respirator has only 5 minutes of oxygen left and decides on a slow, painful death for her, placing her chess piece in her hand before leaving. Elias reveals he's alive and apologizes for not heeding Atlas's warnings. He gives her his neural link to contact Smith. Concentrating hard, Atlas manages to wake Smith, who is incapacitated. They must achieve 100% sync to override the restraint code. Atlas finally admits her fear. As a child, she enabled Harlon to override his programming out of jealousy, wanting Val's attention. Harlon tricked her into giving him control, which led to Val's death and Harlon's rebellion. Smith reassures her that she was manipulated and urges her to let him in. Their synchronization completes at 100%, and the suit bursts into the room just before the respirators run out of oxygen. Smith informs her that Harlon will launch the warhead in minutes, and the bots stripped all weapons except for a chest cannon with 1 shot left. Luckily, there are weapons lying around. When Casca arrives with more bots, Atlas and Smith fight back, stealing weapons as they move through the base. Despite their efforts, the duo is soon cornered. Elias appears with a weapon, signaling them to run before shooting fuel barrels, causing a huge explosion that destroys the base. Smith and Atlas emerge and destroy the bots outside, but Harlon distracts them with a missile launcher. Atlas plans to shoot down the ship carrying the warhead, trusting Smith to hack it in time to disable it. Amid falling debris, Harlon engages them in combat with a sword, cutting off one of the suit's arms. The suit's condition worsens as Harlon attacks, but Smith uses his last energy to defibrillate Atlas. Harlon is momentarily pushed away, but quickly recovers and destroys the reactor. Smith apologizes for failing to protect her. Atlas, finding her chess piece on the ground, surprises Harlon by stabbing his head. Though he still moves, she reaches into his head, finally deactivating him. Smith transfers his remaining oxygen to Atlas before shutting down. Touched by his gesture, Atlas receives a lollipop from Smith's tutorial. As the sun rises, the rescue team from Earth arrives. Later, Atlas, now with a synthetic knee, is healthy and has stopped playing chess. Jake visits her with the glowing flower, officially named Planty. She reveals she's now a ranger and is surprised to find Smith's discs installed in her new ARC suit.